Welcome to the Art of Badassery, where I explore what it takes to live life on your own terms, break free from the status quo, and unleash your inner badass. Whether you're a rebel at heart or simply seeking inspiration to step outside your comfort zone, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Mahara Wayman, and each week I dive into the stories, insights, and strategies of those who have mastered the art of badassery and are living life to the fullest. They smile when no one is looking. Welcome to the Art of Badassery. My name is Mahara. I'm your host, and I'm really excited because I am having a guest come back for the second time. Please welcome Anna Campbell. She is a former corporate professional who bravely decided to ditch the expectations, the fears, and excuses that were holding her back to create a career and life on her own terms. Now a full-time career coach and people consultant, Anna is passionate about helping others reclaim their lane, break free from limiting beliefs, and really design a life that's filled with happiness and fulfillment. So grab your favorite drink, get ready to be inspired by her journey, and of course, her actionable insights for living like a badass. Anna, welcome back to the show. I can't wait to hear all about this transition that's happened recently.
Yeah. Hi, Mahara. So nice to be back. I was listening to, I think it was maybe a year ago, just over a year ago, that we last spoke, and I was still in the corporate world at that point, and obviously now I am no longer in the corporate world. So a lot's changed in the last 12 months.
So listen, before we get into the juicy details, just give us a bit of background. How long have you wanted to be doing Reclaim Your Lane fully?
Yeah, I came up with the idea for Reclaim Your Lane in 2020. So coming up to 4, 5 years ago. So it's been a good while.
What took you so long?
Oh, good question. What took me so long? There's a couple of things. I think the mindset blocks that were in the way, and I can probably tell you what those are. You can probably guess. And then there were some practical elements as well in terms of financial security, making sure I was kind of set up and had that comfort to be able to make the transition from the regular corporate salary to being self-employed and paying myself. So it took me probably a little longer than I had expected. But now I look back, I'm grateful for the journey and how long it did take it. I learned a huge amount along the way.
All right, share some of those juicy learnings with us, because when you say mindset, we all have our particular thoughts on what you mean by that. But for you, what was the biggest hurdle regarding your mindset that you had to navigate?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I see it with my own clients. It was one of I reached this moment where I was like, I should probably take my own advice now. I think some of the mindset barriers existed around being enough, smart enough, qualified enough, to will I be taken serious enough? All of these types of sense of being enough to be a solopreneur, entrepreneur, have my own business. It just existed in a world that was so different to everything I've been brought up in. My parents are teachers. No one in my family has ever set up a business or gone off and done their own thing. So it's a brand new environment to me, and there was a lot of fear there around being kind of qualified, being enough, and confidence as well, I guess. I kind of knew I would succeed, but it felt safe to do it part-time as a side hustle with the corporate job as well and kind of test the waters, but still have that security as well. So I think those are some of the main mindset blocks for me.
Okay, just for context, can you think back to a time before the idea of Reclaim Your Lane, maybe even before you got into your most recent corporate role, when you really struggled with your mindset?
Yes, I can. I've tended to work in quite male-dominated environments, and I think throughout my career that has also had a little bit of an impact on my confidence in those quite masculine settings. So I can probably recall quite a few instances where mindset and confidence were tested, let's say.
So let me ask you this: that younger version of you, can you look back on her and say, yeah, you know what? She was actually badass then too. Tell us why.
Yeah. Do you know, I think when I look back, there's a lesson in everything, and everything has played its part, and everything has come at the right time. I think in the moments you kind of feel impatient and why isn't this happening sooner, or why don't I know this already? Why aren't I there? You look at other people and there's comparison. But actually, mini badass me, however many years ago, earlier on in my career, she had a part to play in kind of who I've become today. So I think, do you know what? Past me, she showed up anyway, despite some of the challenges, despite some of the tricky environments, despite some of the doubt, verbally communicated by some people, about that being enough. Are you smart enough? All those sorts of things. Again, in those masculine environments, it was often, whether it was said or whether it was, what's the word I'm looking for?
I
Implied. Thank you. Um, I showed up anyway and I did my thing, and I think that has massively benefited who I've become today.
I love the fact that you refer to your younger self as mini me because that girl was needed. Like she played her part in getting where you are today. So let's talk about today.
Mm.
All right. So is the work that you're doing today similar to what you did in the corporate world, or is it vastly different?
I'd say it's evolved. So when I was in the corporate world, I was a head of people and culture partnering. And so there's always been a thread of wanting to help people succeed in their careers, to develop personally and professionally. So that love has still exists. It's just manifested now in a way that feels good to me and in a way that I think I can help people most. In the corporate world, I mean, there's always stuff, but I've almost selected the bits that I love and enjoy the most and have created a business around it. And I feel that's such a privilege and such an amazing position to be in. So what I'm doing now is still the one-to-one coaching, helping people that feel at a career crossroads, are feeling uncertain on what they want next, perhaps lacking confidence and procrastinating on taking action for change in their career. But also now it's evolved to supporting founders in their businesses. How can I support them get the most out of their people and teams, businesses, creating the environments where people can succeed in their careers, but organizations also succeed. So, how do we get organizational performance through elevating people performance? So, it all ties together quite nicely. So, it's a real mixing pot of things I'm doing and the types of people I'm working with. But it's a good variety. I'm enjoying it.
And it's so needed. I come from the corporate world and I can look back on it with mixed feelings, but I can absolutely see the need for this.
Mm.
HR needs to be more than just HR that as we
Mm.
today, I think. So kudos for bringing something to the world that corporate world needs so badly. I'm curious though, what's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself in this incarnation of badassery?
Ooh, what's the biggest thing I've learned about myself? The biggest thing I've learned about myself, or the biggest thing I've learned that I have to do is, it sounds like a really cliche thing of feel the fear and do it anyway. I think when you're doing it on your own, there's nowhere to hide. You can't kind of sit back for the day and just hope the rest of the team picks something up or, coasting anyway. Um, you really have to keep showing up, even when it feels uncomfortable. And I think, and I'm sure you see this with your clients as well, the magic and the good stuff happens outside of your comfort zone. You feel the friction and you feel the dread and what will people think of me? Will it go well? Will it fail? But do it anyway. And you've been a great help to me, Mahara, with your encouragement as well. And just do the thing, just do it. So yeah, that's probably been a huge learning to kind of really step into that badass kind of mindset. And a million and one other learnings along the way as well. As a business owner as well, there's just so much. Every day is learning.
It never ends. It never ends. What are you most surprised about though now that you've stepped into solopreneurship?
Do you know what I'm really pleasantly surprised about? How much people want to help. So I have been on the end of amazing people in my network and women in my network who are speaking up about me in other rooms. People like yourself, just people that I haven't worked with for years who are saying, yeah, let's hop on a call, let's see how we can help or how we can work together. And I think there's that asking for help. There's a message in there that it's about not kind of carrying things on your own or, having things spin around in your own mind. And I wonder if you have this with your clients as well, where it's like, get out of your own head, ask for help.
You bring up a really good point. I know with some of my clients, and I had this as well for a little bit, this idea that badasses do things on their own, right? I'm king of the castle and I'm going to get my shit done the way, it's me, it's me, it's me. But truthfully, life is a team sport, and badasses learn to ask for help. They learn to be
Mm.
strategic in who they ask for help for or who they connect with. And it's a great example that when we learn to ask for help, the universe just makes things happen, right? It's almost like putting in your order. This is what I need help with. I don't know where to get it, but and then the next day you meet someone, right? Or somebody answers a post, or something comes up in a book. Like there's always messages and support for us if we look for it and ask for it. A lot of my experience has been not knowing where to go for the help or not knowing what help I need, right? Because sometimes the overwhelm, I'm speaking totally for myself here, the overwhelm of something so new um, not polarizes, but freezes me. And I'm like, I don't even know. I'm overloaded with information. Google everything, right? Check out this post,
Yeah,
check out that person. So I know that information overload can really slow us down in our businesses.
yeah.
But what did you do specifically? Can you remember to just like, did you talk to yourself, give yourself a little talking to? Did you refer
Yeah,
back to some of the work that you've done with your own coaches and your own support?
yeah. Yeah, good question. And I think before I go into what I maybe did, I think we need to normalize small steps, but consistency in those because people are often like, take the big leap, jump, do it, quit the job. And that's scary, right? That's a massive thing to do. Have a plan in place, take the small steps. I mean, it took me over 3 years to transition fully out of my corporate job. I did it slowly. I went part-time and then eventually I kind of left fully. Um, but so often you don't hear that online. Everyone's, promoting these big, I took the leap and now I'm earning this. And, behind the scenes and the reality is that there can be a normalizing these kind of small but intentional steps to take to where you want to get to. So I think for me, the first thing was getting clear on what it is that I wanted, that clarity. And I know you share a lot about clarity as well. If you don't know where you're going, you're just going to go round in circles. So you've got to have a vision for where it is you want to be. What's the kind of life you want to have? What's the kind of career that is going to support that life that you want? So I spent a lot of time doing self-reflection, getting that kind of clarity as to where I wanted to go. And then I actually worked with a coach as well to understand the steps that I needed to take. And also to keep me accountable because, if you're just accountable to yourself, it's easy to not show up at times or to, oh, I'll do that next week. But when you're meeting a coach, they kind of keep you accountable and they hold up the mirror and they ask you challenging questions. So, I've sometimes that feels like a big investment, especially when you're a newer business, but it's always been worthwhile. I've found someone's kind of help and coach and guide you through the steps.
Thing that I found too was I could con myself into thinking I was being productive because I was so busy, right?
Yeah,
You can lose yourself in the busy work. And then, 4 weeks later, you're like, what have I done? Absolutely nothing. That happened.
yeah,
My husband asked me once when I was first starting this because he hadn't seen me for weeks because I was on my laptop just creating and writing and
yeah,
like, how's it going? I'm like, great. He's like, what have you been doing? I'm like, working. He's like, well, what did you do? I'm like, oh, okay. And I had nothing to show to it. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
so do you have any clients? I'm like, you're not supposed to ask me that.
Yeah. Do you know, I think that's one of the learnings in, moving from corporate world to business, full-time business owner or anything, whoever, whatever you're doing, is to get clear on your vision, what it is you want, and then identify this sounds really jargony, but the needle movers. What is the one thing I'm going to do this week that is going to get me closer to that vision? How am I going to move the needle and get closer? So I've had to learn to recognize when I'm doing the busy work, feeling productive, color coding my calendar, versus when am I moving the needle? When am I focusing on the right things? And they've been hard lessons as well, where I realize I haven't perhaps been focusing on the right things. So yeah, that would be something I would suggest as part of that, getting focused and clear on what it is you want to be doing to get close to that end goal.
Stuff. What has been, some of the stepping stones that you could just lay out for us? Because I
Mm.
think some people listening today you've just given them permission to slow down, which is awesome.
Yeah,
But can you describe some of your stepping stones? Just give us an example of what that meant.
yeah, of course. So I think, for me, I went part-time. I dropped just one day in the corporate world, and I felt so terrified to ask for that. And actually, once I did, my boss at the time was so incredibly supportive, because the alternative is that I might have had to, look for another job that could allow me to do the side hustle piece. Um, so get clear on what you need and what you need from whom, and ask the question, I'm looking to go 4 days a week. This is why. Is this something the business can support me in doing? So get clear on what you need, the time and space you need to be able to do the thing you want to do, and ask the questions that might feel difficult, but I bet you when you ask them, they won't feel as hard as you actually think. And you may get a fantastic result, as I did. So we can talk ourselves out of action so often, but do it. So get clear on the steps you want to take the bold action. I think the other thing is the financial piece. We're not here. Neither of us are saying, quit the job without a plan. It doesn't sound very sexy, does it? About have a plan, have a financial plan. But it's important, because if you are going to be your best self and be creative and, bring your magic into the world, then you have to have some of the foundations in place and a plan. Being able to pay the bills and the mortgage and all those things, having those in place. So I got really clear on all the money, all my kind of money mindset, where I have a tendency to avoid the money, looking at money. So I had to face getting really clear on the financial steps on that as well. So that was important. So yeah, the practical element, the mindset piece as well, the confidence, but it really is getting that vision clear, plan in place. What's some of the barriers for me, practically and mindset wise, and working through those. So I can see in my head there's kind of stages I've gone through of clarity, overcoming barriers, taking action. And it's just that constant cycle of those kind of stages, I guess.
And is that what you're seeing with your clients? Is that typically the same process that you're seeing works well for your clients, or is there something that you're noticing that's a little bit different than that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a And I think this is why I connect with my clients so well, because I've been there, I've been in their shoes. I feel so strongly that um, niggling feeling that something needs to change, and not knowing what to do next. So yeah, I see that those stages as being very similar. I think another part of it, and we spoke about this last time, is allowing yourself the space to think and write down everything that's going around in your mind. Because so often we can avoid that niggling feeling. But if we leave it unaddressed, years go by, is the truth. And I've seen so many people beat themselves up for saying, I wish I'd done this sooner. So,
Why do you
yeah.
think it's so hard to listen to the niggle? This came up with someone else, another podcast guest recently. This, I think her parting words were, listen to the niggle for God's sakes. It's like it's don't
Yeah.
ignore. Why do you think it's so hard for us in general to do that?
I think it's uncomfortable. I think it's probably telling you to do something that feels against the norm, that feels against what maybe society has told you is the right thing to do. Society says, don't leave the stable job, you know. parents tell you, of certain generations, you know, you might be crazy to do that. I think there's these societal expectations and um whether you recognize them or not, things linger there that you feel like, who am I to be that person to set up my own business, I should be doing this, that kind of sense of what you could be doing versus what you feel you should be doing. So it's this internal conflict of everything you've been brought up to believe you should do in your career and in your life. And where there's a clash, it feels uncomfortable, so you bury it and ignore it. But you and I both know it always finds its way to the surface in some way.
It always comes up to the surface. So would you say then currently that you work mindset mostly with your clients, or is it a combination of the practicality, as you mentioned earlier, coupled with the mindset work or the inner work, as some people call it?
It really is both. And I feel this is where I'm lucky to have had my experience in big corporates, in HR, recognizing how to succeed in that environment. When I work with clients who do a lot of inner work, who are they right now? Often I work with people who have been in their careers, 15, 10 plus years and have reached a point of like, ugh, do I want this forever? What do I want next? So we need to do a reset. Who am I? What are my values? What do I stand for? The foundations of everything. Um, Getting clear on kind of what some of their barriers might be, what's stopping them take action. And then when we get to the action plan piece of, okay, what does this look like now? We've done the great work, this is all lovely, but how are we now moving it into an action plan? And that can be anything from helping them with job search strategies and interviews, whether that's internal or external kind of jobs. It's kind of crafting a plan to develop within their role in an organization, lots of different things. It's all individual. It's always bespoke to that person and their own needs. But so yeah, to answer your question, sorry, I went a bit long there. It's mindset and it's practical as well.
There you go. So, so good. And you've been delving into some new areas recently, which by the time this podcast comes out, maybe you've done some more, but tell us about some of the exciting things that you've done recently.
So I've been doing a lot of events, which has been really fun. Online events, in-person events. I actually hosted my first event earlier in the year, which was great. And I would just, I don't know if you find this. I think online is great. The pandemic, we realize we can still connect, and you and I connect often, and we're other, worlds apart from each other, geographically, but you cannot beat meeting people in person and the energy you get in a room. I love it. And I think, audiences love it. Coming together with like-minded people, to discuss things, to share experiences. And so I've loved running events, loved doing workshops, putting on a nice pink red jacket and getting on stage and all those things, which I never thought I'd love, but I have loved. Yeah, it's just you get to show your full self, and it's been scary, but it's been really good fun.
So badass to be able to
Ah,
recognize that it's okay to step outside of your comfort zone and shine. And it's one of the things that, you and I have noticed with clients, and I know we've noticed it with ourselves, is that, wow, we don't often see ourselves the way that the world sees us. And when
mm,
we are in person, if we're open to it, that recognition is reflected back and it's a high, right? It just feels great to be part of that
mm,
energy, regardless of what you're talking about. Because you and I talk about different things when we go out
yeah,
and we're, you know,
yeah,
networking or just chatting. But there is an energy that comes with, to your point, like-minded people hanging out, or even if they're not
yeah,
like, just open-minded to
yeah, yeah.
share. It's really cool energy. So lots of badass things that you're doing. Number one, you were very strategic in moving from corporate to solopreneur. You did say it took over 3 years, almost 4 years to do that, but it worked for you because you were systematic and you were very clear. Clarity is everything, guys. I talk about that all the time. Very clear on what you wanted. And I think this is important because many times we clients, as well as this is what I did, when I said what I wanted, I wasn't connecting that want to a feeling. I like we're going back years ago. I wanted to be I wanted to be thin and happy, or I wanted to be a certain size, or I wanted to have a certain job title. But I didn't necessarily understand that what I really wanted was security and freedom and ease, all of those things. So getting really clear on how you want to show up in the world, how you want to feel in the world, and how you want people to see you in the world. Because there may be something better than just that career title waiting.
Mm.
You may not find that within that career title. It may be something else that comes up along the way. I think I went off track a little bit here as well, but I think
Yeah.
you actually were able to pinpoint that for yourself early on. And now Reclaim Your Lane is up and running, total solo. It's only been what, 4 months?
Yeah, 4 months since I left the corporate job full time. So yeah, again, every day is a learning day. Some days I'm like, oh my God, this is nuts. And other days I'm like on a high elation. I think it's all part of the course, right? There's the ups and the downs, but what it's given me is flexibility in my day. I've defined what a great day would look like for me. It's allowed me to spend more time with my family and husband, and I get variety. I get to use my creativity. It's just like I feel so lucky. And if anyone else is kind of thinking about making that shift from corporate world, maybe side hustle into full-time gig, um, do it. Get clear, get the plan in place, ask for help. Um, find someone that's doing something that you want to do. Put a coffee in with them, even if they're famous people, whatever, reach out. People always love to talk about themselves and their own journeys, listen to podcasts like this, just be a sponge, absorb it all, and then just go for it, is what I would say.
Such great advice. How can people reach out to you, Anna?
People can find me on Instagram, so at reclaim_your_lane. Or I'm on LinkedIn. I'm starting to hang out a bit on LinkedIn a bit more now, Mahara. Anna Campbell. So you can find me on LinkedIn.
So good. And do you only do one-on-ones, or do you offer presentations? What's your repertoire?
Yeah, so I do one-on-ones for kind of 3 month periods. Those are people that really want to make a change now in their career. But I also offer some kind of power hour type of sessions if there's just something, a particular thing you're struggling with. And working with corporates as well. So if in your business you're recognizing the need to have someone come in and inject a bit of energy into how careers are managed, career planning and all those types of things, then online or in-person workshops as well.
So good. Anna, congratulations on the move. I've watched
Thank
you
you.
from afar. I've watched you from close up. And I just want to say you are a total badass. And here's to you. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Anna Campbell from Reclaim Your Lane, very bravely moving towards her dreams one step at a time. Please reach out, check the show notes. You'll see more about Anna there. And I will see you all next week on The Art of Badassery. Thanks again, Anna.
Thanks, Mahara.
Thanks for tuning in to another badass episode. Your support means the world to me. So if you enjoyed what you heard today, don't forget to like, share, and rate the episode on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback keeps the badassery flowing. And hey, if you're ready to unleash your inner badass and conquer whatever life throws your way, why not book a complimentary badass breakthrough session? Just click the link in the show notes to schedule your session, and let's kick some serious butt together. Until next time, stay fearless, stay fabulous, and of course, stay badass. This is Mahara signing off.